Oh my gosh, I woke up this morning, I jumped out of bed, I'm like, fuck yeah, time to meet the world, man. And I'll tell you, after all the 4 months, 4 fucking months of pain and suffering and eating and sleeping and feeling the heart palpitations and feeling like the weight of the freaking world literally is like on the back of my neck and my shoulders and all that. After 4 months of that, this is what came out of it. And then a new appreciation for my husband's music, which I never could figure out why the hell he listened to that kind of music. And I understand, it's all hormonal. It's what he grew up with, yes, but it's also the culture and his hormones. And of course, being male, but also in an area that is extreme in the temperatures and extreme in the culture. And you have factories, you have truck drivers, you have hunters and fishermen here. You have people who are so fucking strong. The women are strong and they have a bunch of kids and those kids are relatively strong, but now lately it's a little bit different for a lot of people. But I'll say that I finally get my husband's music, and then also associating it with people breaking down where they have to have implants and transplants and part of their body metal and plastic and silicone and nanotechnology because their bodies are breaking down on one end, and then they're developing children who are deficient, literally, who are not only nutritionally deficient, but they're missing organs and limbs and legs and all that. Well, I don't say limb. Well, they're missing stuff. They're missing, vital resources in their body. They can't handle air, food, and water. Highly allergic to food. The system has to keep using machines on them to release mucus and maybe even do dialysis, I guess. That's some of the people out there, not everybody. But yeah, these poor kids are coming to this world having to use machines to pump out the waste material and to bring in nutrition because they can't do it on their own. That's basically what heavy metal is letting you know, that eventually the rise of the machines, the rise of the cyborgs is kids coming into this world at a deficit because you can't tell the parents not to have children. You can't stop people from having sex because they're gonna. They've been highly sexualized through so many different means and avenues. And so they're developing these children who don't have what it takes. So then the system has to develop cyborgs. Because what else you can do? You can bring a kid and just sit there and just suffer and not be able to walk, not be able to talk, not be able to do whatever. And so, so these kids, when you think about it, they're taken to the extreme, yes, are like half machine and half human because nobody wants to stop procreating. And of course, the parents are also breaking down. So they're on pacemakers. They have implants and transplants, getting radiated all over the place, getting, mesh stuck inside of them and stents and screws and rods and all. This is the rise in the machines and the cyborgs, and they're getting the implants where you have to even watch your sugar through your phone. That's heavy metal. That's death metal. That's fucking crazy. So, Terminator, Judgment Day, right? Salvation, all the Terminator series with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh my God, I get it. And again, you can't tell these women or men to not have a kid, so fine. If you want to have a kid, fine. If they can afford to be hooked up to machines all day long, and they're okay with that, if they can afford to be brought into this world at such a deficit, and you're okay with them suffering like that, that's what's fucking crazy. That's why I keep saying and pressing upon people. I'm not a leftist. I'm not even a right wing. Though I know people think that I'm a California leftist. But no, California leftists might be believing in birth control and all that other stuff. But they're also doing their vegan and vegetarian bullshit. All their yoga and all their remedies and detoxes and all the activism, but they're not actively rebuilding the body. They don't like the meat, the milk, the cheese, the eggs, and all this other shit. They like gluten-free everything. And so, no, I'm not a California left wing. I'm not right wing, so I'm not trying to have these girls produce babies that are going to end up being hooked up to machines and live off the freaking machines and have implants and transplants and countless surgeries and countless protocols done to them because the person is trying to figure out how to get them to be, assimilating. No, you need the meat, the milk, the cheese, the eggs, the fruits, the vegetables, everything. And you got to find a way to stay home and pull back on your lifestyle. Have a little self-restraint. But that's not happening. Remember, people are chasing wealth. They're chasing money, power, wealth, women, everything. Men, sex, fame, power, prestige. And suffering. People are fucking suffering. It's insane. But I'll tell you, man, I feel amazing. And so I understand. So now I'm listening to this music, like Five Finger Death Punch and Korn and Ozzy. And I actually, when I read the words in the music and feel the frequency of it, I totally understand what these men are talking about in the music industry. And yes, some of the women. Zombie, yeah, from, who is that? I forget her name who sung that. Is it the Cranberries? Oh, yeah, I get it. So when I came here to Ohio from California, and I'm, listening to contemporary 80s, contemporary and classical, and thinking I'm better because I'm from California. Come here and I'm like, oh my God, the music here is so aggressive. Why? Oh, because the people are. Why? Because they have body to them. They have energy. They're doing manual labor. When you're doing manual labor, you need the body for it. And the women have to be almost as strong as the men so they can handle the men in the area, or the men will destroy the women. They do. I mean, a lot of men do destroy them. Not literally. I mean, not like a serial killer, but over time, they'll fuck them to death. And the kids, they'll have so many kids, the woman just finally succumbs to the deterioration because they've given everything to their children, like their parents told them to do that. And so, yeah, I understand. Yeah, that when I came here, it was like walking to a death metal bar, and it was just like the music was just like, oh my God, and the alcohol and the smoking of the pot, and it was just like, wow. And yeah, I understand a release, because when you're toiling doing drafting or putting up drywall or painting or lawn mowing, landscaping, and working in the factories all day long. And you just get tired of saying, then you have to come home to like 5 or 6 kids and a bitchy wife who's having issues. And she's working at, the convenience store and working at, a Walmart or something, and she has her own issues. Oh yeah, then they're like, okay, kids, you stay at home, we're going to the fucking bar and we're going to release the demons because we've worked 5 days, and Friday and Saturday we release the demons and then go back to work on Monday. Oh, I totally fucking get it. I get it. But yeah, it's right now war in a petri dish, and you have to assimilate to the strongest fucking prototype in your circle of people. So if you live with 10 people and there is one giant in that, then you have to assimilate to that giant and his microbes. And then also whoever is the smartest. And usually it's not always the time that the giants are the smartest in their circle of people. Sometimes there's a small person who is so slight, who's smarter than everybody. And so you have to assimilate intellectually to the smartest person and biologically assimilate to the strongest person. And then you got to figure out how to merge those two worlds, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. The northern intellectual, southern, this is what the factories produce. What middle America, what blue collar towns produce. It's everything below the waist and sometimes above the waist. But evolution above the waist in middle America is a little bit difficult because the men are when you have been given the gifts of strength and making money relative to your community, and you can keep doing it, you're not gonna stop. Just like when someone who's at the height of their career and they see, oh gosh, all these contours and they have the body, they're not gonna be like, well, I'm not going to go to these, I'm not going to go and perform. They're going to co-perform and make all the money until their body can't. And you hope that they don't die suddenly. You hope that they have the time when they finally get the first sign of deterioration that they can go back and quit when they're ahead. How do men who are so fucking capable quit when they're ahead? They don't. That's why the system has to pull them back, or that's why the environment pulls them back. That's why the cultures pull them back. Because they can't pull themselves back. When you're so capable, you can't, and when you don't feel anything, how could you pull yourself back? And so, sobriety is an amazing flipping thing, because then you can really see how everything works. And sometimes you have to feel the pain to understand what animals and what children and what humans go through when they are deteriorating and when their body is trying to evolve. And so it's like, wow. It's pretty crazy. And I'll tell you, the pain the last few weeks was so eye-opening. It was so evolutionary, so eye-opening. That then, there's no way I could sell my lifestyle to people out there who are so far gone. There's no fucking way. So they're going to have to be around their friends or family under the influence, having their pets around them. I get the culture. But I also must make the world aware what these animals are going through when they're held captive by people who are at work 9 or 10 hours a day and they're stuck in a house or in a cage. Which I understand, the house, okay, if it's cool and that's fine, but in a cage, and in any, how could that be a life for an animal? And then when they start evolving and releasing demons, then they get butchered, they get pills shoved down their throat, they get herbs and everything. That's not any life for an animal either, waiting to fucking die. It's not any life for a child having to be hooked up to machines. And when I'm waking up to the pain in my arms, animals and children don't always have the voice because they're not allowed to have the voice. What, mom and dad and people just keep giving them pills and supplements and painkillers for their pain to cover up what the body is trying to tell everybody? And then taking away food from them? Meat, milk, cheese, eggs, gluten, everything, sugar, salt. So you can starve the voice that's trying to tell them they're fucking starving? No wonder I've been angry for the last 50 years of my life, because innately I knew what was going on. Innately I knew that was our culture. It was destruction. It was forced assimilation. It was so many things that it was such a tradition of death and destruction, using people and making kids commodities, making animals commodities, and so when you're clean and sober and you actually feel the pain in your own body, then you have a new appreciation what children go through, what the elderly go through, and what the animals go through. I had to learn a lot of hard lessons. I will never have an animal again. I will never have a kid, of course. And I will never let myself get down to what I was as far as just such deficit. Because once you've been down that road of deficit, pain and suffering and under the influence and all that stuff, and you finally break through the hardest part of surpassing the hay flick, you'll never let your body get to that point. You'll never go back to the lifestyle that's out there. The drugs, the alcohol, the sex, the craziness that's out there, the developing large families and distractions and fitting into a paradigm and fitting into a world that is actually dying. I mean, if boomers understand this, they wouldn't encourage your Gen X kids and their grandkids to go follow in the same traditions. If boomers were fucking awake, they would say, okay, maybe I'm too far gone, but the world's changing. Maybe not fall into the same habits. But again, you can't tell parents how to raise their fucking kids. So you have to watch it happen. Maybe they don't have what it takes. So you just hope they have a good life, I guess. But that's why I also posted about boomers are dying. They're dying by the millions. What is it? 7 million a day? And so boomers are dying. We're going to have to figure out, once that culture is gone, we're going to have to scale down. And that's why there is artificial intelligence. Because when you see by the time we get to 2030, then you get a lot of people gone. Let's see, 1/4 of the United States gone. A huge workforce, a huge brain, a huge wealth. And I guess, then the whole wealth transfers, people who are going to spend it on stupid shit anyways. But so that's why we're in the artificial intelligence. Because we're going to have a huge workforce gone. Millennials are dying. Gen X is not keeping up. So yeah, and then we have these kids that are basically coming in with deficiencies. They're going to be cyborged. The system is going to have to hook them up to machines, raise the frequency, so we can get the script, the code, the programs to carry out just daily infrastructure needs, like keeping the water clean, like keeping the streets clean, like keeping out of control people regulated. And yeah, you're going to have little cop machines around keeping people in line. Because people are not fulfilling their future with evolution, food, and whatever else, and they're developing children who have deficiencies. What else is the system to do? What else is the system to do? So again, that post about cyborgs, procreating cyborgs, well, you chose to have 50 million kids on a body that's in deficit. You chose to have all these children that are deficient, and they're going to be suffering, and so the system has to, they don't want to keep just destroying people, but people are destroying themselves. And so the rise of the cyborgs, the rise of the machines, it's Judgment Day as far as Terminator. It's Judgment Day. People are dying suddenly. They can't handle the air, food, and water. Others are hooked up to machines. Others are protesting. Others, they live on the West Coast. You're like, oh, God, look at the skies. Yeah. Well, look at you. You can't handle the air, food, and water. You're eating only organic. The fuck is that? You're starving yourself. You're starving your kids. You're starving your animals. And so, yeah. And so I feel so goddamn strong. And it's an amazing awareness when you finally break through that uphill battle of releasing those demons and battling the fucking weaknesses in your body and releasing them and becoming strong. And knowing that you survived every single battle that your body gave you, and that I'm able to understand now my husband's music. Because yeah, I had no identity as a kid. So you had all these groups like, Breakfast Club, right? You had the goths, the intellectuals, the preppies, same thing. And you had the hard metals and the rapper girls and the gangsters and all this stuff, right? So we had that same kind of, Breakfast Club in my junior high, and I fit in with none of them really. Eventually I did go and hang out with a group of girls that were not like so tied in with anything. They were kind of like free floating. And it was a little tiny group for a minute until I went off the deep end. But I was like being a hair bear and assimilating or trying to be like a poser, be like, oh yeah, I like Metallica. I like Def Leppard. And I was such a stupid kid, but when you don't have an identity, you try to fit in with things that you can't fit in with. I really could not fit in with Metallica. I couldn't fit in with the rap people. I mean, I probably could, but I didn't look the part. I wasn't an intellectual at the time. I wasn't a preppy. I tried to be a sports person. My mother wouldn't let me get into that because my grades weren't the way they were. So she's like, if your grades aren't like up to what I think, even though they're like, yeah, my C average was okay, she wouldn't let me go into the soccer. So I didn't even have the sports people to hang out with. She did not let me join in any group in junior high. So I said, fuck it. I fell deep in and I said, screw it. If I can't fit into anything, I'm leaving. And that was the intention. And I get it. Because as soon as you identify with a group, you get stuck and tunneled. And it's gone. Your peers are now more influential than the parents. My mother was not having that. And I get it. I completely understand now. But I had no identity as a kid. And my mother would not let me have an identity as a junior high person. And so I think that's probably what saved my ass. Is that I was not identifying with anything in the Breakfast Club in my junior high. And so now I'm still with no identity, but I'm saving my own ass. And I'm able to flit from group to group to understand the world that I live in so I can fucking survive it. Because eventually everyone's going to mix together and you have to survive your peers. And know when to get out, know when to come in, and know all the indicators to save your own ass. Or if not, then you'll succumb to the group's mentality and be the human sacrifice at some point, because it eventually does happen. People become the human sacrifice in their circle of friends and family. But hey, If they're hot doing it and they look good and they're getting a lot of return on the investment and the system is giving them a great life and a great, platform to work from, and they have a lot of people looking up to them and admiring them and all this other stuff, and they have a lot of likes and a lot of influence, more power to you. You can be the voluntary human sacrifice, and you will get paid very well for it, and people are. They're getting paid very well for being the hot chick in the group. They're getting paid very well for being the cool dude that's like letting you know about the New World Order and all the shit that, oh, look what they're doing, and they're getting paid very well for it. Hey, so if you choose to sell your soul to the devil will eventually take his due. And that's the whole universal compensation, the universal payment system. You want to feed off of what the system is providing to you for free, you will pay with your life. I'll tell you, devil does take his due. It is with people's lives. Unless you figure out how to get out and not be so damn greedy. But people are, they're greedy, and so they'll die, in pleasure and paradise. And that's how the system's able to release the demons and control the population, give them everything they want. They'll destroy themselves. That's fucking phenomenal. Or they'll save their own life. They have two choices: destroy yourself with everything that people are giving you, or find a way to pull back and restrain yourself. And realize that whenever you accept a gift from somebody, you're accepting that relationship. Whenever you give a gift to someone, you're buying somebody's time, buying their body, their mind, their spirit. Be careful accepting gifts and be careful of giving gifts, because you're always implying a transactional relationship. And so when you don't need people, then you're not going to be in debt to them. But since I'm in a contractual relationship, I play the game of give and take with my husband. But that's something that we both agree to. Anyone else out there, I'm not playing the gift of buying and selling your body, mind, and spirit. I'm not into human trafficking, directly or indirectly. I don't want to need people because I'm not trying to be in debt to anyone. I don't want to be there for people, because then it never stops. Once you help one person who doesn't understand this, once you help a person who doesn't understand transactional relationships, they will keep coming to you for help until you cut it off. So that's why you be very careful who it is you interact with, very careful who it is you give your time to, be very careful who it is you help, because you are now implying a relationship and a transaction that you may not afford. And do you want to invite that kind of shit in your life? No, you don't. So be very careful, even be nice to everybody, because you'll be inviting the parasites that will feed off you forever until you cut it off. And sometimes it's not a really nice situation, separating yourself from parasites. So anyways, that's all I'm going to say at this point, because what else is, what else is there to say? Oh, there's a lot to say. But I feel fucking amazing. Look, I'm strong. Okay, I have better range of motion, but before I had a hard time doing this, but now I have better range of motion. Okay? So, my lymph nodes, definitely, we're going through it. But I have the gut, which is the gut and gut here and up here is basically Wall Street, and buys and sells microbes that it needs to make sure that my infrastructure stays alive. I'm not into the flat belly and the flat butt and the big boobs type of shit. Those are for the human sacrifices out there. The girls that have to sell their body, their mind, their spirit to stay alive. And I understand that. No. Done with that. Not trying to be skinny. Not trying to be a piece of meat for the world out there. The brain. And you really have to build up your body to support the brain and support your gut. And if that's not possible because it's too painful, then yeah. That's basically Job versus the volcano. The virgins always get thrown into the volcano. And they're always cute little virgins. All right, bye.